The South Carolina Hall of Fame was founded in Myrtle Beach in 1973 to recognize and honor contemporary and past citizens who have made outstanding contributions to South Carolina's heritage, history, and progress.
Jacob E. Smart was born on May 31st, 1909, in Ridgeland, South Carolina. After graduating from the United States Military Academy in 1931, Jacob Smart entered flight training with the Army Air Corps. When the United States entered World War II, Colonel Smart was Chief of Staff for flight training at Air Force Headquarters in Washington, D.C. By 1942, Smart was serving on the staff of the legendary General Hap Arnold, Chief of Staff of the Army Air Force.
He was a strategic thinker. He looked at tactics and he looked at strategy. And he became really important to General Arnold as the man that he turned to, not just for advice and strategy, but he turned to how to tactically get something done, how to deal with difficult air operations.
Smart was involved in the planning of the invasion of Europe and President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill's meeting in Casablanca, Morocco in 1943.
The focus between President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill greatly was opening the invasion of France. Top secret, what would become Operation Overlord, the Normandy invasion. And the difficulty was, how do you reduce the German strength? Germany produced sizable numbers of fighter aircraft and tremendous numbers of tanks, very good tanks. The Panzer tanks, superior in many cases to what America was producing. They also produced excellent artillery, the German 88, which became famous in World War II. So the big charge was, how do you reduce that? And it was decided that to go after the fuel supplies, that so much of that could be reduced if they went after fuel. And so Hap Arnold was charged with trying to come up with some type of strategy to bomb the German fuel production sites. And he turned to Smart and said, get this done.
Jacob Smart is best known as the architect of Operation Tidal Wave on August 1st, 1943. 178 B-24 Liberator bombers flew the 2,400-mile round-trip mission from Libya to Ploiesti, Romania, to bomb oil refineries.
They flew from North Africa, bombed Romania, and then back. It was extraordinary strategically and tactically. But they flew into the target at low level. And the whole idea was surprise and to take out and severely harm German fuel production. It was extremely costly. Of the 178 aircraft that went in, 100 of them were either shot down or severely damaged. 550 air crewmen were either killed or were captured by the Germans. But the damage was significant. Now, the Germans repaired it quickly. And so the raid was kind of controversial, and did it really accomplish what it set out to do? But it was a major milestone in the developing American-led Allied strategy to try to cripple the German fuel reserves.
Smart received the Distinguished Service Medal, and 5 other airmen received the Medal of Honor, the most for any single military action.
I don't think he ever told me anything other than to express, that he really wished he had gone on the raid and hadn't been literally told to not get on the plane that day. He always felt that he planned something that other people died for, that he should have at least been there. He didn't plan it just to send other people off to risk their life.
Well, after this raid, he wanted into the action himself. And so he was given a bomber command in the 15th Air Force, based in Italy. He flew 29 missions himself. 29th mission, he was shot down.
On May 10, 1944, Jacob Smart was on his 29th mission, flying a B-17 Flying Fortress to bomb aircraft factories in Austria when his aircraft was hit by anti-aircraft fire and exploded. He was thrown from the wreck in midair, wounded from shrapnel, and safely parachuted to the ground. Captured immediately by the Germans, Smart was interrogated about his knowledge beyond his bombing mission.
When the Germans got him, at first they didn't know what they had. But then they recognized photographs of him as an advisor at the Casablanca conference with President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill, and they knew they had someone really important there. And to his credit, he told them nothing.
After World War II, Colonel Smart became part of the new Air Force, formerly with the Army. Rising rapidly in rank, General Smart became commander of the 5th Air Force and of United States forces in Japan by 1961, and then commander of the Pacific Air Forces in Honolulu by 1963. A year later, he became deputy commander of the U.S. European Command and retired in July of 1966. He was an important leader in the Air Force during the height of the Cold War.
You know, we all know that we were that close to wiping each other out. And so I'm sure that during that Cold War era, there are a lot of things that he was involved in Washington and in Europe that are basically were classified at the time. But they're a little bit removed from us. I mean, you get to a level in the military where you may be a commanding general, but more interesting that he was shot down than what decision you made yesterday about the Russians.
After his retirement from the Air Force, General Smart held several high positions at NASA, where he was involved with the beginning of the historic Hubble Space Telescope project.
2, 1, and liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery with the Hubble Space Telescope, our window on the universe.
Here's this man who was in the early stages of the development of the American Air Force when it was the Army Air Corps, who played a key role in World War II as an advisor, who was a deputy chief of operations in the Korean War, who helped plan strategy and tactics in the Cold War. And then at a time when he could have been sitting on the rocking chair, he goes back and works for NASA, working with something advanced as a space telescope. Just weren't many careers like that.
In the mid-1970s, General Smart returned to his hometown of Ridgeland, South Carolina, where he lived for the rest of his life.
As a side note, it's interesting that Ridgeland has 2 4-star generals. So what town in South Carolina, what town in the nation, in a small town like this, can produce 2 Air Force 4-star generals?
General Smart passed away on November 12, 2006, at the age of 97. Divorced from his wife Elizabeth in 1946, he had 4 children, 3 daughters and a son.
He has a street, the main street here was renamed for him. His legacy lives on with the Historical Society, and that he was one of the original founders and helped really get it started. It's nice to know that there were some home state folks who played important roles to provide, if you will, a role model to say that you too have the possibility to become something.
If you look back at American military history in the 20th century, if you look at the development of American air power and its legacy in contributing to the American space program, here's a man who was at a key spot throughout all of that, and hardly anyone has ever heard of him. And yet, there probably has not been a single person who contributed so much in so many ways.